Good afternoon. It's 1:49 p.m. It is July 7th, and I am sitting here at my house doing as much as I possibly can to avoid the heat. It is 113 degrees outside, okay? So, whew, I can tell you right now it's a hot one. So, of course, I've been doing a lot of thinking today. These downloads really cannot be avoided. Okay, they cannot be, especially since I have all this time on my hands, and I wake up sometimes in the middle of the night and, my brain immediately just jumps into this issue on some level or in one situation, or like maybe I'm trying to get to the root of it. And I do understand the root of it as far as me being cloned, my father and all that stuff, right? But lately I've been focusing, my mind has been taking me back to me being on Facebook, the whole blow up, and me not knowing exactly what the whole deal was, okay? Like the deal, what I'm starting to think and understand was it wasn't just my siblings and like the kids I used to go to school with just discussing me. I believe now that there were celebrities that were aware of me because of my reputation in England when I was CB Braganza. All right, and this created quite a stir among people. And then I had issues with people that I used to know, as well as certain people within the industry. People were debating, whether I was worthy of having the attention of certain people within the industry. There was a lot of people picking me apart, talking shit about me, making accusations about me, doing all kinds of stuff, and I had no idea what was going on. All I know is that I believe everything that happened up at that point, okay, that or at least that was used as an excuse to try to tear my character down. Because from that point on, it was just weirder and weirder and weirder and weirder, right? And I'm referring to the Facebook page of my original Facebook page back like in 2008, 2009, those years, right? Which I did, figure out recently what that password was and all the other stuff. So I did go and retrieve some of the pictures that I posted because they're no longer saved on my computer. I've obviously changed computers since then. But, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, my gosh, this is what, because I honestly didn't know that, you know, people would pay attention to me because I had no idea that I was, a clone. You know what I mean? I had spoken to one of my schoolmates one weekend or so, and she told me about Facebook, and I had never heard of it before. So I decided, okay, I'll go ahead, I'll go ahead and get on Facebook. And there was a lot of discrediting of me because nobody really had a full scope of my story. I myself didn't have a full scope of my story, mind you. This was a time back in 2008 and 2009, those years. I was thinking that Mary Gordon was my biological mother, that my siblings were my actual siblings, that, I had no idea that I was CB Braganza. I had no idea that, none of that stuff. None of the cloning issue, none of it, none of it, none of it. All I knew is that there was like all kinds of like, I was losing connection with people that I would know, I used to know. Like I would say hi to like my person that I thought was my friend back in the days, and then I was like, not. It just felt weird, like even across the computer lines. I'm like, man, this just feels weird. So I stopped communicating with these people, and then I started realizing something was wrong because I noticed that I was dealing with a lot of harassment at work and everything. Okay, so I think a lot of the people that I used to know brought up the fact about my education. Okay, I'm going to tell you how circular this entire issue is. Okay, the whole issue is that, and the main issue is, and the point of reason why I have suffered for the longest time in my life is because I was taken from, going back into the story now, I was taken from Ethiopia. Okay, I was removed from Ethiopia, and then I was moved into England, right, with Captain Speedy and all that other stuff, right? So I, had problems obviously fitting in, right? Because I was already in the presence of people who captured my father to the point of where he felt as though he needed to commit suicide. So I was among basically the enemies of my father. So there was no way in the world I could fit in. So what I did was I moved to the United States. Okay, why? Because everybody pumped up the United States about the religious freedoms and everything, and me understanding that at that time that slavery was supposed to have ended, right? So I came to the United States. Makes sense, right? Right? I came to the United States. So I experienced problems in the United States. Why? Because of racism. You know what I mean? I was more than capable of being an occultist. Apparently, I was a very good occultist, and I had people who supported me, right? Meaning, like, I was making an income, okay? I had become, obviously, a big topic of debate within, social circles because of my profession and my even being able to have some sort of independent income as a black man, right? So this became problematic for them. So he became a victim of highly racially charged hate campaign. You know what I mean? Like among white people. And so he stuck it out for very many years, watching all of his work being labeled as wrong, wicked, bad, but the same people who were pointing the finger at him were profiting from him off of his work. Okay? And that's a very painful thing for a person to have to deal with, especially, somebody who didn't have a chance at life. And everything about this issue starts at, here's the starting point. Starting point is that there's two families that historically do not get along with each other for whatever reason. Okay, and a lot of it has to do with the power play that I don't believe people on my side. I can't speak for every single last ancestor on this topic. I have no ability to do that, right? But I myself never had an issue with anyone specifically. I was always just kind of going about my life and whatever, minding my own business and taking care of what things I needed to take care of as needed. You know what I mean? I've always believed in, things like laws and understood what the rights were. Okay? So me dealing with this issue all came as a surprise to me. What ended up happening is that while I was on Facebook, I got the attention because of this legacy that I have in England, which is what I believe, okay? So certain people got involved because, I guess obviously you're going to be a spectacle right from the get-go, right? So people are going to be trafficking my page, right? And so then we got people, who felt jealous and competitive of me, right? And started talking about all my failures and all the bullying that they enjoyed doing. They enjoyed inflicting and giving, creating hate campaigns, making people see me in a negative light, blah, 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 blah. Why? Because the original platform it wasn't right from the fucking beginning. It's always been me dealing with two-faced people who truly didn't accept me for who I was, being put in environments where I truly did not belong. Okay? And so I dealt with a lot of kids who would grin in my face and pretend to be my friend, right? And then turn around and work against me, right? And this is exactly the case. And this is one of the reasons why I was shocked, because I didn't see a correlation between what was going on at work and going on at Facebook until it started becoming very obvious, like around 2012, okay? And also, the whole thing starting off when I brought my ex-husband in 2010 to the Christmas party. And that's when things started getting crazy. The problem with it is that the reason why we don't have, okay. First of all, the reason why I wanted to make this video and call it "The Losers Are the Winners" is because I know the things, I can understand the things, everything that people were directing towards me. I understand what was being said about me. I understand what was the motive of what they did and why they did it, and undermined me. Okay, mind you, I was always somebody who worked their hardest when I was in school, but I had to deal with a lot of stuff. Okay, and when people have a lot to deal with and they don't fit in, they're the people who are going to be the ones who kind of get left behind because they don't feel comfortable in school. They don't feel any of this sort of stuff. And it got so bad in high school that it just, bye. That's pretty much how that went. So I ended up having to take care of myself. But basically, to make a long story short, I'm a survivalist. That's what I am. I am a survivalist. I've had to deal with these people my entire life, possibly because of the experiment that was derived from me being a clone of Prince Alamehu / C.B. Berganza, right? Me not even understanding that, but one thing is for sure, whether I understood, there's no way in the world, I didn't understand it when I was younger, okay, who I was, but I understood that I was different, and my characteristics, my belief systems, my ideas were becoming more formulated, and I started understanding the things that I valued in life, and I obviously set myself apart from people, mainly because of, there was always some sort of conflict of interest, some sort of bullying, some sort of belittling, need to belittle me, pick apart my views, laughing at the things that I liked, devaluing me as a human being, right? So on and so forth. So when they had the opportunity, and I'm going to refer specifically to like my sibling, my ex-sibling. Well, she actually really isn't my sibling. She's actually my great grand sibling when you think about it, really, really think about it. Okay, but anyway, I don't want to mention her anymore because, guys, I've been doing so much meditating because I don't really feel comfortable with people dying or me finding out. And I've got messages about this before, but I kind of ignored it, and now I'm kind of focusing on things, one by one, because it must be some natural healing process that I have to go through because I need closure. But I know that my siblings felt really competitive against me. People started, plotting against me. People started being very, very malicious about, who I was. Maybe they thought that I was aware of who was targeting or trafficking my page. I had no idea. And there was so much bullshit that was going on Facebook. But I do remember having communication with people who would strike up conversations with me in the very beginning when I first started with Facebook, okay? And then for whatever reason, because the people that I was familiar with were not talking to me, I kept thinking, well, there's really no point in me being on Facebook. Slowly but surely, all this garbage started like filtering into my work life in an obvious manner, okay? Where it was like, people were being fucking rude, ruder than usual, all this other stuff, and I was like, oh my god, what the heck's going on? And so at this point, I don't communicate with people I used to know. The last time I went to go see my family, that was the last time I saw my mother, right? And my picture was out of the house, and what ended up happening is this became a religious debate, especially a religious debate, because people kept thinking I wasn't worthy of having friends. I was a bad person because I was a unrested soul, okay? Somebody who came back after the dead and was seen as some sort of apparition, okay? But did they tell you that this person, they tortured this person, they bullied this person, they bullied and mocked this person, and destroyed this person inside and out? Did they tell you that? No, of course not. But anytime people bring religion into an argument, or they're using religion or bringing up religion, you have to understand that this is already a part of propaganda. So I ended up losing people that I thought were a part of my life, and they slowly started dropping off one by one. Okay, all because of this issue about celebrities taking notice of me because of my history in England. Right now, they were obviously associating this with like romance, because they were thinking that this was some sort of romantic setup, or maybe these stars or celebrities were interested in me for romantic reasons. I'm going to say I'm probably not. I am a point of intrigue in England. Okay, so I mean, I can't, I don't, but whatever the reason is. So then I got these women who were sitting here trying to bully me,
Okay, and some of these people are also what I call in the industry. I'm referring to the celebrities. Okay, whether they're entertainers of acting or they sing or whatever. Okay, and some of these people I've watched for years and admired. And I even probably given a shout out to. Okay, but these people wanted to do everything to basically destroy me, is what they wanted to do, right? Because there was a competition that was going on that there was no way in the world I could even know of. Okay, but what ended up happening was also is that we had people who were associated. No, I'm going to say people within the pyramid peeps. Okay, who took control of the situation, and they did a lot of damage when it came to trying to manipulate people into thinking that I was a bad person. Okay, why? Because this is some sort of family conflict that goes on for however long. Okay, I haven't read into all my past lives, but based on the last one, it goes into some sort of conflict that happened between the emperor and their family. Okay, and obviously everything was stolen from that area, including the only heir to the throne, which would be me. Right? Okay, so I was inconvenienced. I was set back. All right, and so people thought that my life was a joke. They had no fucking regard for who I was, including my mother, the woman who raised me. Okay. Now, meanwhile, while they were sitting here analyzing me, calling me a failure, calling me a loser, calling me God knows what, okay, I myself have been analyzing them and understanding the reason why I could not deal with that environment. Okay. There was nothing wrong with me. I was in the wrong environment. I needed more than what they could give me. Okay, I deserved more than what they could give me. Meaning, I didn't deserve to sit here and be gossiped about. I didn't deserve that title from the get-go. Okay, everybody knows I started off as a very bright person. Very bright in school, I'm going to say. I am a bright person. I started off very bright in school. Okay, but that's when the targeting increased. That's exactly when the targeting increased. And everywhere I ever went, I had to deal with that. Okay, what I'm going to call intense racism. Intense racism where they're not actually calling you the N-word, but they're certainly treating you as if you are one. Okay, and then I had to deal with a lot of their sarcastic bullshit, acting as if I didn't know, and I knew all the time. Meaning I knew all the time that something was wrong with them. Okay, and I also knew that certain people who believed in certain things, even though it was the majority thought, I knew it was bullshit. Okay? And there was nothing anybody could do to tell me any different because it was being played out in my eyes every day, especially when I started working over at, or I should say it started to begin to be very, very noticeable, as when I started working over at Edwards Air Force Base. Okay? So much attacking, and people, when I started thinking about it, people totally knew who I was, but I had no idea. Going back even before Edwards Air Force Base, okay? What happened was I was working at the convalescent hospital. Gross, disgusting, right? But what's weird? There were a lot of old, elderly people, okay, who were patients in the convalescent hospital who seemed like they know me. Now, this is the crazy part, is that I'm starting to remember a lot of stuff, like a lot of stuff. All right. Now, the reason why I kept thinking some of these old people were kind of weird is because, and I'm starting to think all about all this stuff, right? They were like saying stupid stuff. To me, at the time, it was stupid. Like they said stuff like, this one lady, she really wanted me to be her friend. Like she was always like wanting to hold my hand, blah, blah, blah. She goes, oh my goodness, you are such a credit to your race. And her family was coming for a visit, right? She wanted desperately for me to fucking be at that fucking party that her little family was coming to. And I kept thinking, and she kept saying how important it was for me to be here and what a credit I was to my race. And I kept thinking, fucking bitch. I mean, I wasn't being disrespectful, but in my mind I kept thinking, what is this lady talking about? I'm working at a convalescent hospital, okay? I'm cleaning bedpans for fucking minimum wage. What the fuck are you talking about? Okay, now I'm starting to realize the reason why some of these people were acting this way is because they remember me from the movement. They knew who I was through, word of mouth and blah, 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 blah. People knew who I was, and it filtered into, like, places like the nursing home or whatever. So when I was like taking care of them, they recognized who I was, and I didn't. I just thought they were being nice to the nice little black girl. I really honestly thought that because I was nice and I did talk to them and I did make conversation with them. I always wanted to know what the thing is? I was fascinated with their conversation. You know why? Because, and I didn't realize it at the time, but because I've always had interest in those time periods. And they were around that time period when those people lived and thrived. And they were telling me about stuff that I already knew, and that's why I enjoyed their conversations. Okay? That's why. Okay? But they enjoyed the conversation. Why? Because I was a leader in something that these people somehow believed in. Crazy, huh? Okay? But, unfortunately, I have not always gotten the respect from people who saw me as their leader, or a leader, or whatever. Now, I do not consider myself a leader now. Maybe I was at one point because of my role in perhaps the occult industry, or maybe I had to stand up for myself at some time, at a point in time in history. Now, I don't know everything about my past life. There's a lot I'm kind of hesitant to look into, mainly because I feel as though this story is nothing but depressing when I really get down to it. Okay? But I will tell you that C.B. Berganza, he was a man who was extremely gifted, who was extremely abused by those who were of the white race. Total disregard for who he was, but they took from him, they stole from him, they used this man for everything that he had. And you know what? When I think about myself as Maria Gordon, I feel as though I get used for everything I have. I'm tired, I'm done. Okay? And so, I feel as though, I had made this video because I was persecuted a lot for things that I believed in. And everything that these people persecuted me for, I didn't even have to try. But I proved them wrong. Didn't even have to try. Now, I know people thought maybe, oh, it's funny that her name was C.B. Berganza. When I first saw this as Maria Gordon on the internet, and I was like doing that past life research spread and all that other stuff, and that night I was all energetic about finding out stuff. And then when I looked up the C.B. Berganza, I found out, matched the dates and times. I found this C.B. Berganza person. I giggled when I saw his name, okay, because it sounded like the kind of bullshit that I would come up with now. It just sounds like some of the bullshit that I would come up with. You know what I mean? Breaking, and I started thinking, okay, Berganza. I knew that was not, a commonly circulated name to where it would be associated with someone of the black race. Why would I say that? Because I fully understand how surnames work. Okay, like for example, here in this country, my dad, James Gordon, his father, Roger Gordon, right? His family was owned by Scottish people, right? So their last name was Gordon, so he took their last name, okay? So I understand how those names work, okay? But I did it. I made up the Berganza name because I thought it was funny that people were stupid, and I've always been like that. I always wanted to play the how stupid are you game, but I also thought it was a match because I was making a joke at the fact, I must have been making a joke of the fact that the Berganza's name had issues within their royal line of some sort of unfortunate circumstance, right? I was shocked because I really started to have to figure out like everything that took place and why I'm in the situation that I'm in. Like it really does have everything to do with past lives. I remember, past life research has always been an interest of mine. I remember buying books on reincarnation many years ago and having a discussion with some of the people, one of the girls, okay, that I thought was a close friend in high school, with one of hers back in, just like 2003 or so, okay. She and I were even exchanged some books that we had read, talking about reincarnation. Now, she may have understood that I was a clone. She probably did. The entire time. Okay. But I've always had this inner knowing to, understand reincarnation, study it a little bit. So when I was younger, I would watch movies about reincarnation, right? Because I had this knowing, like a burning knowing, like, is this stuff real? I have to consider this possibility. But it was not like something that I dove that deeply in. I would read about here and there or whatever. It was a pastime interest, right? And I did remember saying like a prayer, saying that, you know, I want to know more about it as I get older, you know what I mean? As I got older, because I already knew that somehow or another I wanted to create the Swan Song Manifesto from a very long time ago. Okay, but I did, the name just recently started coming to me where I thought that was an appropriate name. But me finding out who I was plays a huge role in my spirituality. Okay, why? Because it confirms something. And then also, I have been doing, because I'm a researcher, like I said, you know, during this entire experiment, I have been studying human behavior deeply, deeply. And, you know, their faces, their mannerism, I understand all of that stuff. I read people very well, and that's one of the reasons why I am a loner. Okay, I think a lot of people who are been considered a loser is actually a winner tends to generally be a loner. Because we feel into energies and we need to understand and be around people that are sincere and don't have an agenda. Okay? And that's very difficult to do in this world, right? But I've been put down, I've been belittled, I've been gossiped about, and I know that the assumptions have been made about me. But really, when you really boil it all down, it's just the fact that people, it comes from the whole issue of the resentment of people comes from me being displaced a long time ago. And the people who enjoyed feeling special, you know, because they were being placed on a pedestal at my expense. Okay, and so this just goes to show you that we don't have people that we can truly count on in this world. Okay, so there's times when you don't have a choice. You have to cut people off, because if you don't, they're going to try to drag you into their problems, and they will do this, okay, because we do live in a monetary system. And it's sad, okay, and I'm not saying that love does not exist anywhere, I'm just saying it's very rare, okay, and because it's very rare, you know, expect to be treated like garbage, okay, and so you have to stand up for yourself when necessary. Now, everybody who basically knew me in the past has been indoctrinated with lies about me, okay, from important people, okay, and I'm not going to go into exactly who these important people are, but let's talk about the micro-macro scale again, okay, talking about, you know, I had made this notation when I was working in general, okay, because just about every job that I've worked, okay, and because I'm targeted, you're going to have a shady manager. You're going to have narcissistic people working within that organization, right? And because these people do the shit that they do, they of course encourage the people underneath them, the work crew, to also mistreat you, right? So they are 100% responsible for the corruption that goes on within the workplace, okay? So the same thing when you got people in titles and positions that are supposed to be in touch and a part of our world somehow, okay, doing stuff that seems a little bit off the charts. And why I say off the charts is mean it's deviant, or it differs from what is actually established as the norm within the legal system, okay? You see this, and other people start following suit and thinking that it's okay. So there is a standard of conduct when it comes to the legal system. And I'm going to emphasize the legal system, because some people will try to use this as some sort of form of manipulation. Yes, there are certain freedoms. The ineligible right gives us our certain freedoms, okay? Freedoms of religion, freedoms of our natural behaviors, things that we're supposed to gravitate to, things like hobbies, okay? They were attacking me for my hobbies, okay? If you're going to attack people for your hobbies, close Michael's, close all these, like, you know, hobby type stores. Okay, they're not going to do that. You know why? Because it's just me being specifically targeted, right? Okay, I was being terrorized in the United States of America, which freaked me the fuck out, okay? And I had dealt with things that most people should never have had to deal with. You know why? Because we had a leader, or I should say leaders, okay, that were very dehumanizing. Okay, and they acted this way in a public setting. Okay, and I'm not going to go that deep into it because I don't really want to have to do that. But my point is that because people called me a loser because I was the outcast. I saw what you guys were in denial of. Okay? This is the reason why I don't fit in. And I accept that. Okay? And I resent the fact that people try to fit me in, fit her in, make her in this what we need her to be. Okay? That doesn't work. Okay? And I have the right to say and have the feelings that I have. And I have no intentions of sitting here trying to, what do you call it, compete against male attention. Now, I will say, you know, of course, growing up, I know that was another thing people made fun of. They made fun of my choices of music or whatever. And, you know, I would say people who want to make fun of your choices of music, you know, that right there shows your racism. Okay? Because basically you're saying that I'm supposed to deny myself any sort of pleasure. Okay? And if I'm supposed to hear something like within a public domain or something, let's say for example I'm outside and a band's playing and they're singing and it's really good, and if I like it, can I have any control over that? I like it. I just do. Okay? So somebody who wants to exercise that kind of control over you, what you like, what you do, that comes from racism. Okay? It comes from racism. You want to tell me what I'm supposed to like. Okay? And I will tell you, when it comes to white people have been able to dig into what black people have created and then make it their own, and they never get their finger pointed at it, ever. You know, I listen to certain songs that were created or sung by white people, and I know, like, for example, those are old Negro spirituals, but that's okay. They can go ahead and sing it. They can take our music. They can take a lot from us. And this is not why I'm not trying to attack white people. I'm just saying is, in this case, I think it's very obvious that I was dealing with racism. Okay? And this is the sort of issue that came out to light because there was some sort of divine need for it to do so. Okay? On a lot of different issues. Things that relate to human trafficking, so on and so forth. Okay, so I'm telling you that this is what I've always believed. The losers are the fucking winners. Why? Because we use our brain. Okay? We're not the kind of people who are going to be swayed to believe stuff. We use the critical thought process. You know what I mean? So in that regard, we are the truly educated. Now, I know you're going to sit here and say, oh, that's not true. I hold a 2 fucking bachelor's degree. I have my master's. I'm working towards my... Okay, that's very nice, okay? But we also have to consider something that's very important, okay? When things get highly promoted, you best believe that there's dollar signs behind that, okay? A college is just like anything else. It's a business. It's a way of making money. And that's not me putting it down by any means, okay? Because I had tried to make efforts to get more of an education. Of course I have, okay? But I've dealt with a lot of stress, more stress than anybody's ever had to do. And I've had to always sit here and worry about my next, am I going to even live, or is there any point in even doing anything? Because everything I did was monitored by the people who stole me and had no right to even give me their opinion in the fucking first place. So they want to make it to the point where it's like, they knock you down and they want to think it's funny when they feel as though you can never stand up again. That's bullshit. Because what I've done, I have noticed this my entire life. I've noticed people who've had less education than I, and I've seen them excel. Okay, and just a few days ago, I did a video about that. Okay, people need to stop thinking that just because you don't, okay, I understand. The thing is my entourage had different visions than I did. Okay, they had different dreams. They had a different idea of what was important to them. Okay, and don't get me wrong, having a roof over your head is important to me. Okay, it really is. Okay, and I also think that you guys, everybody wants to be like the star of the show, be seen as the it person, blah, 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 blah. And that college education is one of those little material things that you feel as though you can show off. Okay, and okay, great, I'm glad you have your piece of paper. I hope you hang it on your wall and for everybody to see. Okay, but at the end of the day, I know that you're not smarter than me. Okay, I know that everything I say, you listen to. I've seen it emulated several times. You can be with me for 15 minutes in a room, and your mannerisms are going to change. I set the goddamn standard the minute I walk in the goddamn room. That's a fucking fact, whether I want to or not. Okay, it's the fucking truth. Okay, and that's, like I said, it's not me bragging. It's my observation. All right. The fact is that an education is nothing more than a static symbol. That is all it is. Okay? I've had to duck and dodge what I call bullets, schemes, and what do you call it, traps from these people for the longest period of time when I didn't even think I had to. Because I have watched other people who've had less education than me have jobs without any problem. The problem with it is that I came down here to Bakersfield and I got trafficked. So one of their ways of competing against me, okay, is to play the education game. Okay. Why? Because they know that they looked at me as a threat. Because I was a leader of something that they felt very threatened by, but didn't have a problem stealing my shit and incorporating it and calling it Christ consciousness in their own little way. Okay, now, I don't want to make this a rant video. Mind you, this is only going to be posted on my Maria Gordon channel. I really haven't been giving a whole lot of attention to my other channel, okay? The reason why is because I have to sit here and put out the feelers for any sort of fucking corruption. That's sad when you have to do that. But you know what? I'm up to their tricks. I fucking figured it out, and I don't appreciate it. Okay, I have every right to sit here and live and breathe and exist just like you guys do, and live out my term in hell. What I mean by that is I don't see where this platform or this form of existence is really of that much value, but I took myself out, and apparently I have to come back. I came back because I felt as though I needed to complete my assignment. And it's that simple. Okay? It's nothing personal. Sometimes divine things work through another human being, and I have no control over it, whether I want it to or not. But I will say what I do have, the message that I do have, it is fun. And I do care a lot about the Swan Song Manifesto. I did get a few, because I think the reason why, ultimately, is because mankind needs some sort of reprieve. They need some sort of relief, and I'm supposed to give it to them. So, anyway, I got messages here. I do know that my sister, unfortunately, was a person who was blind to the system. She was extremely indoctrinated. Okay, I will never be ashamed. You are not going to make me feel ashamed, or anybody who is considered a loser, to be ashamed of not being educated within your school system. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, I thank God every day I am not indoctrinated, because that's exactly what it is. Now, there's a lot of people who walk around believing that the things that they do are okay. And there's certain things I'm going to say is that's okay for them to do if they want to do it. You can do what you want to do, okay? But I know that my sister, unfortunately, and it breaks my heart to feel this way with my sister. And when I talk about the subject of incest, I understand there's a lot of people who support me, who are not happy with the fact that I'm not somebody who promotes incest, okay? I'm sorry, but like I said, I have to refer to the law when it comes to that issue. Now, if you're over the age of 18 and you're attracted to someone in your family, you go right ahead and do that. But it should be consensual, meaning both people need to be parties and agree on this sort of union that takes place, okay? When it comes to underage children, that's an issue that's completely different. It's against the law. Now, I understand people use issues like, just issues, they play with things in their mind like, oh, well, I'm loving this person or whatever. The point is that I understand that what happened with my sister and Libra 14 is that they had disagreements with me on certain issues, okay? But what made it problematic, what was problematic about this issue is that it was not consensual, okay? They were terrorizing me, putting guns to my head, and basically trying to force me into some sort of lifestyle or the acceptance of certain things that freaking me out, okay? This is what makes it a crime, okay? It does make it a crime also, that the fact that it's human trafficking all the way around. But anyway, and nobody recognized that. Okay, so we have lawyers that participated in this. These people were playing the silent game. They were being able to be puppeteered by people who possibly were promising them the moon, or they just wanted to be a part of the game that was being played. Okay, so I'm going to put the responsibility on the law system. Why is this the case? Okay, either lawyers are not well equipped to do their job, or the people who were around this group were all corrupt. One or the other. It's one or the other, okay? And when I deal with people who claim to be, what do they call it, paper-carrying degree holders, how dare you tell me that I am uneducated? You shut your fucking mouth. Yeah. The next message is that a lot of white people do support me, and I do appreciate it. I'm not trying to make this a let's hate each other game. Okay, this is not my issue. I, as an individual, okay, and only as an individual, came down here to Bakersfield because the rent was cheap. Okay, unfortunately, I moved into an area that was highly racially charged. Okay, but what this was is an example of people being able to adapt to dealing with something like that and taking the proper notation and observing the kind of people that say these sort of things and do these sort of things. Okay, and once you what they call it, consider the source, that shit just rolls off your back. It's the truth. Okay, now I've never done anything to hurt anybody. I just came here for the check rent, and I felt as though my skill level was up to standards. Okay, because I know I have spoken to several white people who brat in my face that they had less than I did. They were comfortable. So I kept thinking that America was fair, and eventually, people will see that I'm a hard worker and all will be rosy for me, right? Nope. Okay, so people in England knew who I was, and they started paying attention to me that year in Facebook. This is what I'm thinking. And so they jumped on the bandwagon. Well, they started, manipulating my employment, maybe even long before I even caught on. Could have been long before Murray Family Farms. I don't know at what point it was, okay? I just know it must have been possibly after 1999. It has to be. I keep saying 2013 because that's when the height of it started, or I could feel it. But possibly, or at least when the internet started becoming highly formulated, because there was a lot of communication there, okay? People can think what you want, okay, but obviously they know the truth. I have been somebody who has dealt with a lot of opposition, okay, before I even understood this whole issue, okay, before I even understood anything about me being a clone or anything. I have always noticed that I've dealt with people who I felt were a little irrational in their behavior, you know what I mean? And they also thought that I was somebody that didn't deserve any sort of respect, mainly because I chose to believe outside the box, you know what I mean? Or see things outside the box, or experiment with things outside the box. Now, I'm sure that I came with a reputation. I'm pretty sure because I was Stevie Berganza that I came along with a reputation, meaning oh, she's a girl who likes the occult. She's a bad person, okay? And that, I just recently found out, I just brought this up a few days ago, the fact that I was haunting people, or they saw my apparition when I was dead, okay? I'm a person who has been tormented for very many years, okay? Punished because I did not support the Christian church for the things that they were doing to me. And so because I wasn't compliant or happy or accepting the fact that people were abusing me and exploiting me, they sat there and they wanted to exploit that and tell people that I was some sort of demon child. But that is quite the contrary. Now, I believe in God more than you believe in God. I can't say that, but I will tell you that I have demonstrable proof that there's obviously a connection between me and a supreme being. Okay? And it's not saying I don't need to feel like I need to brag about it. Okay? But, unfortunately, we do have cultures or people who want to play the my God is bigger than your God game. And I'm just somebody who's aware of it. Okay? And I understand the law a long time ago was highly aware that people just, like I said, the law is written for what? To protect us from what naturally occurs in nature. So if you are doing something minding your own business, somebody's going to get wild hair up their ass, and they're going to want to sit here and fight with you. Thank goodness it's written to the law. Okay? Now that may not mean much, especially when people in power have the ability to manipulate the law system, right? But then, you know what at least it does? It tells you who really is guilty, doesn't it? Undeniable. Okay? And you know how I know that? Because I'm of the uneducated. Because I'm of the indoctrinated. That's why. Because I don't believe that what your system does is truly educate or enlighten or benefit anyone. Which is one of the reasons why I didn't see it was a point or a waste of my time to sit here and involve myself in the Facebook argument. Instead of sitting here bending over backwards, doing what I could to salvage that friendship, I'm totally fine with it. Okay? That's, this is the way the world works, okay? Not everyone's going to like you. You could be completely worthy of all kinds of love and affection, but we understand we live in a monetary system, and each and every one of you that rejected me, we're simply just trying to survive, and we're desperate and trying to do what you needed to do to feel good about yourself. But let me tell you something, you will not do that at my expense. Now, I'm trying to work on content, but I felt the need to say something, to say a little something. You know what I mean? And I need to get myself back together and figure out what my next step is. And obviously, I have like content that I'm ready to write, but I felt as though I needed to make some sort of contact with the people who do listen to me. Okay. I do plan on reaching out to Sean Almehu. It's been really hard for me to deal with social media right now, or even turn on my computer, which I understand. I will tell you, it is because of this. The reason why I feel hesitation a lot of times is because I've dealt with the trauma of going online and seeing the imprint or the residual effect of what these people have done because they are terrorists by the definition of the law. And I'm referring to Libra 14 and my sister when they were playing with my Patreon account. Okay, I do not appreciate being a victim of terrorism. Okay, and that's exactly what it is. If you're trying to inflict your religious views on another person, that's a form of terrorism. And I wanted to talk a little bit more about marriage and the definition of marriage, okay? What my family was trying, or my sister and Libra 14 were doing, was terrorizing me, okay? Now, maybe somebody might think it's okay for people to do these little arrangements and insist that this person is married, because this is the kind of bullshit. This is the cult behavior. What I was dealing with was a cult, okay? There is nowhere in the law that says that I am consenting to any sort of marriage, okay? This falls under the guidelines of human trafficking because it's a forced marriage, okay? And this is what I was talking about a few years ago, okay? Before I even knew that Libra 14 was involved in it, I do recall doing a human trafficking video where I touched on forced marriages, and that's exactly what it is, okay? When you are in a marriage, you go to either the state, where the state can marry you, or you can go to a clergy. Either one can issue you a state, what do you call it, a license, a marriage license, okay, where it has both of your signatures and you are agreeing to that union. You don't just make up stuff willy-nilly, okay? And so here we go again with, I'm educated, I'm more blah, 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 blah. Where? In the law, does it say so? Oh, it's because of the Christian background, right? Once again, you are imposing your religious belief on me, okay? And no, I do not have to sit here and waste years of my life while you sit here and try to indoctrinate me to fit the mold. What you did was harassment. What you did was terrorism, okay? And I'm just making it really clear so we don't have any more problems as we move along, okay? So, what you guys did was you wanted to block me out. And you wanted me to be ignored by the celebrities that I, admired when I was younger. And you told stories and you tried to prove me wrong and you wanted to silence me. That's what you wanted to do. You know what I mean? That was your goal. And you worked at it for year after year after year after year after year. So once all the energy that you put into it brings me to this one question. You know what I mean? How am I supposed to believe this is the sincerity of anything that you say at this point in time? Okay? Because the only reason why I feel as though you would try to make an effort to talk to me is if you were trying to smooth it over because everything has been exposed. So, like I said, there's things that you can do to damage a relationship. There are things that you can do. You could take something too far to where it becomes very uncomfortable for people to be able to interact with one another, where it becomes impossible to interact with one another, okay? And that's what you guys did. And like I said, do you owe me to clear up the airways? You owe me to clean up all your filth that you did on the web. Because I'm tired of interacting with the bullshit, okay? But in reality, you owe me so much more. You owe me so much more. And you know it. And I'm not out of line to say it. Okay, I think I've handled this well. You know what I mean? Considering the fact that I have dodged all your bullets of negativity. Okay, and it was heavy. You know, I never meant to be the outsider. Okay, as far as I knew, when I was growing up, I knew that I had the right to my religion. I had the right to believe what I wanted to believe, and I understood that there was racism, but I also knew that there were laws to protect that. Even though that there's a lot of racism in the United States, okay, but their laws were written for my protection. So if it really got down to it, if the shit was to hit the fan, and you and I, like I said, they always manipulate the court system, okay? And because they can manipulate the court system, I'm just telling you right now, from a legal standpoint, what happened to me is just absolutely, it's a scandal, is what it is, okay? And somehow or another, I was able to recognize it as being unindoctrinated and being the uneducated, so-called uneducated. Okay, why? Because I'm a loser, and I'm happy to be one. Now, anyway, what else did I want to say really quick? Oh, you know what would be good for me to say right now? Because I do believe it is Cancer 7's birthday, and I'd like to say a very happy birthday to you. And I'll also give you a little bit of praise for just a second, because I honestly got to tell you, you still have it. Okay? So, and I am certainly noticing, and I think a lot of other people are noticing too. And that could very well be a part of the reason why so many people attack me. Okay? And trust me, I enjoy seeing you, and I don't ever want to cause any friction with anybody. I'm just trying to survive, okay? And I hope that you hang in there. And I'm going to be back with another video sometime later. Take care. Bye-bye. Hey, I want to thank you for taking the time out to watch my video. If you want to see more videos in the future, make sure you like my videos and subscribe, and also hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my new content. Thank you so much again for watching.